Kathy Benson looked out the small window of her quarters at the blue-green planet below. Earth looked so small from here, so peaceful. She would miss it. The space station orbiting Earth had been her home for the past 3 weeks as she prepared for her mission. Today was the day she would leave to represent all of humanity. "Ambassador Benson, Director Hayes is here to see you," said the computer voice. "Let him in," Kathy said, smoothing down her navy blue uniform. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Alan Hayes walked in with a tablet in his hand and worry on his face. He was a tall man with gray hair at his temples who had served in Earth's diplomatic corps for 30 years. "Good morning, Kathy. Ready for the big day?" he asked, trying to sound cheerful. "As ready as I'll ever be," she replied with a small smile. "First human to address the full Galactic Council. No pressure." Alan's fake smile faded. "That's what I need to talk to you about. We got some new intelligence overnight." Kathy sat down at her small desk and motioned for Alan to take the other chair. "Tell me." "There are rumors of a plot against you. Several council species aren't happy about humans getting a seat at the table. They think we're advancing too quickly." Kathy nodded slowly. Humans had only discovered faster than light travel 15 years ago. Most species took centuries to develop it on their own. The older races were suspicious of humanity's rapid progress. "Do we know who's behind it?" she asked. "Not exactly, but there are Drakid on Nexus station." Kathy felt a chill run down her spine. Everyone knew about the Drakid. They were feared throughout the galaxy as perfect assassins. Their scaled bodies could change color to blend with surroundings, and they could sense fear and aggression through smell. They rarely failed a mission. "How many?" "At least 5 that our people have spotted. There could be more." The door chimed again, and Noah Miller entered when Kathy called out. Noah was Kathy's assistant, a young man with bright eyes and endless energy. He carried 3 cups of coffee and handed them around. "Sorry to interrupt, but the shuttle pilot says we need to leave in 30 minutes to make our jump window," Noah said. Alan stood up. "Kathy, I think we should delay your visit until we can get more security." "No," Kathy said firmly. "Humanity has waited too long for this chance. If we back out now, it will look like weakness. Then at least take a full security team and wear the discreet body armor we developed." Kathy shook her head. "I've studied all 57 council species and their customs. Do you know what would impress them most about humans? Our trust. I will follow Earth's diplomatic tradition. I will enter the council chamber alone and unarmed." Noah nearly spilled his coffee. "Ambassador, with all respect, that's crazy." "The Drakid are professionals," Kathy finished for him. "If they want me dead, extra security won't stop them. But maybe showing absolute trust will make the council think twice about what humans represent." Alan looked like he wanted to argue more, but after 30 years in diplomacy, he recognized the look of someone who wouldn't be moved. "At least wear the emergency beacon," he said finally. Kathy agreed to this small concession. The beacon was tiny, hidden in her ceremonial pin. If activated, it would alert Earth's military ships waiting at the edge of the system. After Alan left, Noah stayed behind, organizing Kathy's files for the journey. "You're really going through with this?" he asked quietly. "Noah, do you know why they chose me as ambassador?" Kathy asked, looking out at Earth again. "Your negotiation record is perfect. 3 peace treaties on Earth that everyone said were impossible." Kathy smiled. "That's what's in my file, but it's not why. They chose me because I genuinely like people, all people, even ones who aren't human." Noah looked confused. "I don't understand how that helps with assassins." "Probably doesn't," Kathy admitted. "But it might help with everyone else." 3 hours later, their shuttle detached from Earth's orbital station. Kathy spent the journey reviewing files on each council member. The Galactic Council had existed for over 10,000 years. Humans were the newest members, still on probationary status. The shuttle made the jump to faster-than-light travel. Kathy felt the familiar twist in her stomach as normal space bent around them. When it straightened out again, they were in the Nexus system. Nexus station hung in space before them, a massive structure shaped like a wheel with 12 spokes. It rotated slowly, creating artificial gravity. Lights sparkled across its surface, marking windows and docking bays. Hundreds of ships from different worlds surrounded it. "It's beautiful," Kathy whispered. The shuttle pilot, a woman named Susan Clark, guided them toward their assigned dock. "Ambassador, we're being hailed by station security." A blue-skinned face appeared on the screen. The Azuri had two sets of eyes. One pair looked at Kathy while the other watched something off-screen. "Earth Shuttle, this is Security Chief Peter Franklin. I need to speak with Ambassador Benson." Kathy was surprised to hear an American accent. "You're human?" "Yes, ma'am. First human accepted into Nexus security. We need to discuss your arrival procedures. I've received some concerning information." "The Drakid," Kathy said. "We know." Peter's blue face darkened, which Kathy knew was how Azuri showed surprise. Their genetic modifications allowed them to serve in environments suited to many different species. "Then you understand why I'm tripling your security detail," he said. "Chief Franklin, I appreciate your concern, but I will be following Earth's diplomatic protocol. I will enter the chamber alone and unarmed." There was silence on the communication line. Then Peter spoke in a lower voice. "Ambassador, the Drakid never fail. Please reconsider. My decision is final. But thank you for your concern." The call ended, and Noah looked at Kathy with worry. "You're the bravest person I've ever met, or the craziest." Kathy laughed. "Maybe a bit of both." The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. Through the small window, Kathy could see the welcoming party, representatives from 5 senior council races standing stiffly in their ceremonial clothes. Behind them were security officers from various species. "It's time," Kathy said, standing up and straightening her blue uniform one last time. The outfit was simple but elegant, adorned only with the Earth flag pin that contained her emergency beacon. Noah handed her the data tablet with her speech. "Good luck. Try not to get killed." Kathy smiled at him. "I'll do my best." She took a deep breath and walked toward the airlock. In a few minutes, she would meet the Galactic Council and try to secure humanity's place among the stars, if the assassins didn't kill her first. Vrekthar moved through the shadows of Nexus Station's maintenance tunnels. His scaled skin shifted colors to match the metal walls around him. To anyone watching security feeds, he would appear as nothing more than a slight blur, easily dismissed as a camera glitch. The Drakid assassin had been on the station for 3 days, preparing for the human ambassador's arrival. He paused at a junction and flicked his tongue, tasting the air. The scents of 57 different species filled this station, a riot of unfamiliar chemical signatures. But he was hunting for the scent of his 4 team members. A soft click sounded in his ear implant. "Position," he whispered in the Drakid language. A series of clicks and hisses. 4 voices responded in sequence, each naming a location around the grand chamber where the human would speak. His team was in place. Vrekthar had killed for 200 years. The Drakid were long-lived patient predators. Most of his kills had been quick, clean, and private. This job was different. The clients wanted a public death, a message to humanity and its supporters on the council. He continued moving through the tunnel until he reached a small access panel. With careful movements, he unscrewed the panel and slipped through into a maintenance closet. Inside, his equipment waited: a ceremonial robe of a minor diplomatic aide, identification chip, and a weapon that would pass security scans. The weapon looked like a simple writing stylus. When activated, it would fire a needle tipped with neurotoxin extracted from a predator on the Drakid homeworld. The toxin killed in seconds and left no trace after an hour. Perfect for this mission. Vrekthar changed his skin to match the pale pink of several council species, put on the robe, and stepped out into the busy corridor. No one gave him a second glance. Most species couldn't tell the difference between others not from their world. It was a weakness the Drakid had exploited for centuries. The Grand Chamber was already filling with representatives. Vrekthar took his position near one of the side entrances, where the human would walk past on her way to the speaking platform. He could see his team members in their positions. One disguised as a server, another as security, two more as minor, diplomatic staff. In a private room near the docking bay, Security Chief Peter Franklin paced back and forth. The blue skin the Azuri had engineered for him still felt strange after 3 years, but it let him work comfortably in the station's atmosphere. He stopped pacing and looked at the security feeds again. "Run another scan for Drakid biochemical markers," he ordered. A junior officer, a 4-armed Tellarite, tapped at the controls. "Sir, we've run it 3 times. The results are the same, inconclusive. If they're here, they're masking their signatures." Peter slammed his fist on the desk. "They're here, I know it. The station has over 30,000 beings on it right now," the officer said. "Without specific intel—" "I've got 5 anonymous tips about a hit on the human ambassador," Peter interrupted. "All from different sources, all saying Drakid assassins. That's specific enough." "But Ambassador Benson refuses extra security," the officer reminded him. Peter checked his weapon, a standard-issue stunner. "Then we'll have to protect her without her knowing it." He tapped his communicator. "All security teams, final positions. The human shuttle has docked. Ambassador Benson will enter the Grand Chamber in 15 minutes. Across the station, in the diplomatic reception area, Kathy Benson stepped off her shuttle. A group of aliens waited to escort her to the Grand Chamber. Their bodies were all different, some tall and thin, others short and wide, some with multiple limbs or eyes, but all wore the same expression that Kathy had learned to recognize across species: polite distrust. "Welcome to Nexus Station, Ambassador." "Benson," said a tall bird-like creature with feathers that shifted from blue to green. "I am Zelka, Council Greeter. These are representatives from the 5 senior races." The alien gestured to the others in the group. "Thank you for the welcome," Kathy said with a warm smile. "It's an honor to be here." The alien seemed surprised by her genuine warmth. Most expected humans to be nervous or aggressive. "Your security detail is waiting," Zelka said, gesturing to a group of armed guards standing nearby. "That won't be necessary," Kathy replied. "Earth's diplomatic tradition is to enter peacefully and unarmed." A ripple of whispers passed through the group. Noah, standing behind Kathy, looked worried. "Ambassador," he whispered, "please reconsider." Kathy simply smiled at him and turned back to Zelka. "I'm ready to address the council." The bird-like alien's feathers ruffled in what might have been concern. "As you wish, please follow me." As they walked through the station's grand corridors, beings of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare at the human. Most had never seen one in person before. Humans were still rare beyond Earth's solar system. In the Grand Chamber, representatives from all 57 council species took their seats. The room was arranged in a semicircle, with rows rising up like an amphitheater. At the center was a speaking platform, currently empty. Rumors flew around the room. Many had heard about the human ambassador's decision to come without security. "Foolish," said a representative from the Golta, a species that valued caution above all else. "Brave," countered a representative from the Lumina, who appreciated bold gestures. "Strategic," murmured an elder from the Viridian Conclave, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "The humans understand symbolism." At the highest level of the chamber, 3 representatives from the Muran Collective whispered among themselves. They had paid the most for the assassination, believing humans to be a long-term threat to their trading monopoly. "Are we certain this will work?" one asked. "The Drakid never fail," another replied. "The human will die, and Earth will withdraw from the council in grief and fear." The third simply watched the door where the human would enter. Brekthar received the signal that the human ambassador was approaching. He felt the familiar calm before a kill, his senses sharpening. The weapon felt warm in his hand. Ready. Theo. Doors to the Grand Chamber slid open. A hush fell over the crowd. Kathy Benson stood in the doorway, alone. She wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, with only a small pin as decoration. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly, and her eyes took in the vast chamber without fear. Brekthar readied himself. In 30 seconds, the human would walk past his position. 20 seconds. 10. And then something strange happened. As Kathy began to walk down the center aisle toward the speaking platform, Rekthar felt an unfamiliar sensation. For the first time in 2 centuries of killing, he hesitated. There was something wrong with this human, something he couldn't understand. Kathy walked slowly down the center aisle of the grand chamber. The room was silent except for the soft sound of her footsteps. She could feel thousands of alien eyes watching her, some curious, some hostile, some simply observing. She kept her breathing steady and her smile genuine. Rekthar gripped his weapon tighter, trying to understand what was happening. Every Drakid assassin relied on their ability to sense the biochemical markers of fear and aggression. These signals helped them identify threats and time their attacks, but this human gave off neither. He flicked his tongue, tasting the air again. The human's scent was wrong. Where was the fear? Where was the tension? Even the most disciplined targets showed some signs of stress. This human gave off chemicals indicating calm and, most confusing of all, happiness. As Kathy passed the first of the hidden assassins, the Drakid disguised as a server, she nodded politely at a group of tentacled aliens. She truly was fascinated by the diversity of life in this room. Each species represented billions of beings, each with their own history and culture. The thought filled her with wonder. The server Drakid froze, weapon half raised beneath his tray. Like Rekthar, he sensed something unusual. He clicked his communication implant twice, the signal for confusion. In the security control room, Peter watched the feeds with growing tension. Something was happening, or rather, something wasn't happening. The ambassador was halfway to the speaking platform, and there had been no attempt on her life. "Sir," whispered the Tellarite officer, "there's unusual communication on a frequency we've been monitoring. We think it's Drakid." Peter leaned forward. "What are they saying?" "It's not words, just signals. They seem confused." On Earth, Director Alan Hayes watched the live feed from Nexus Station. The 30-second delay due to distance was agonizing. Next to him, a team of analysts monitored every detail they could gather from the transmission. "Vital signs for Ambassador Benson are steady," reported one analyst. "Heart rate normal, blood pressure normal. She's calm." "Too calm," muttered another analyst. "No one should be that relaxed walking into a room of aliens who might want them dead." Alan nodded. "That's Kathy. It's why we chose her." Back on Nexus Station, Kathy approached the third assassin, the one disguised as security personnel. She made eye contact with the disguised Drakid and smiled warmly. The assassin felt a jolt of something unfamiliar. The closest word in Drakid language would translate as recognition, but not of a person. Recognition of something sacred. The Drakid had an ancient religion, one they had mostly abandoned as they became the galaxy's premier killers. But deep in their genetic memory were stories of beings whose minds would shine with the light of pure creation. Beings who could not be touched by violence. Kathy, of course, knew none of this. She simply continued her walk, genuinely pleased to be in this historic place, truly honored to represent Earth. Her natural optimism, which some on Earth had called naive, radiated from her like a physical force. Rekthar watched her approach, his position. The confusion in his mind grew stronger. His implant buzzed with signals from his team. None had attacked. All felt the same strange hesitation. In Drakid culture, there was a concept called nishtak, a state of being so pure that to harm it would be to harm oneself. For centuries, it had been just a religious myth. But now, facing this human, Rekthar felt the ancient belief stir in his blood. As Kathy passed him, her eyes briefly met his. She had no way of knowing he was an assassin, yet she gave him the same warm smile she had given everyone else. For the first time in his long life, Rekthar felt shame about his profession. The weapon in his hand suddenly felt heavy and wrong. He couldn't use it. Not against this human. Kathy reached the speaking platform and turned to face the assembly. The grand chamber remained unusually quiet. Many representatives had expected a dramatic entrance, perhaps with Earth's military guards or advanced technology. Instead, they got a single human smiling as if she was greeting friends rather than potential enemies. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Kathy began, her voice clear and steady. I bring greetings from Earth and thanks for accepting us into your community of worlds. As she spoke, something unprecedented happened. One by one, the hidden Drakid assassins deactivated their camouflage. Their bodies shifted from mimicking other species back to their natural scaled form. Gasps and cries of alarm spread through the chamber as the assassins revealed themselves. Security officers reached for weapons. Representatives from the Moran Collective who had hired the assassins froze in horror. But the Drakid made no aggressive moves. Instead, they lowered their weapons to the floor. Peter Franklin watched in disbelief from the security room. What are they doing? He whispered. The Tellarite officer shook his head in amazement. They're surrendering? Vrekthar stepped forward into the center aisle. Protocol, honor, and 2 centuries of professional conduct demanded that he complete his mission. But something older and deeper compelled him to break that code. He walked slowly toward the speaking platform. Security officers pointed weapons at him but held their fire, too shocked by the unfolding events. Kathy paused in her speech, watching the scaled being approach. She recognized the species from her briefings. A Drakid, one of the feared assassins she had been warned about. Instead of feeling fear, she felt curiosity. Why had this being revealed itself? Vrekthar stopped at the base of the platform and looked up at Kathy. The chamber was completely silent now, every being holding their breath. I am Vrekthar, he said in the common language of the council. His voice was raspy from rarely being used. Leader of this Drakid hunt group, murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. Drakid assassins never identified themselves publicly. We were contracted to end your life, Ambassador of Earth. More gasps. The representatives from the Moran Collective began to edge toward the exits. Kathy looked at the Drakid without fear. Why are you telling me this? Vrekthar's scaled skin shifted colors slightly, a sign of emotional disturbance. Because we refused the contract. You are Nishtak. The word caused an even bigger reaction among the council members. Many stood up in shock. Nishtak? Kathy repeated, unfamiliar with the term. One who cannot be touched by violence. Vrekthar explained. In our oldest beliefs, there are beings whose minds shine with pure creation. To harm such a being would poison the universe itself. He bowed his head, a gesture Drakid rarely made to any being. You are the first I have encountered in 2 centuries of life. On Earth, Alan Hayes listened to the translation with his mouth open in shock. The analysts around him were frantically searching databases for references to Nishtak. Is this really happening? Alan whispered. Did the galaxy's most feared assassins just surrender to Kathy? Back on Nexus Station, the council was in uproar. Representatives shouted questions and accusations. Security teams surrounded the revealed Drakid assassins, though none of the Drakid resisted. Through it all, Kathy remained, calm on the platform, watching Vrekthar with genuine interest. She had come here hoping to show the galaxy that humans could be trusted. She never expected to be declared some kind of sacred being. What happens now? She asked Vrekthar quietly. The Drakid assassin looked up at her, his alien eyes unreadable. Now, Ambassador of Earth, everything changes. Chaos erupted in the Grand Chamber. Representatives shouted over each other in dozens of languages. Security teams formed a protective circle around Kathy and the Drakid assassins, unsure who they should be protecting from whom. The council elder, an ancient being from one of the first spacefaring races, banged a ceremonial staff on the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber, bringing a moment of quiet. Ambassador Benson will continue her address, the elder announced. The Drakid will be taken to a secure area for questioning. This council meeting will proceed with order. Kathy looked at Vrekthar. Will you go peacefully with security? The Drakid assassin nodded. We will answer for our intentions. But know this, no Drashid will ever raise a weapon against you or your kind again. As security led the 5 Drashid away, Kathy returned to her speech. Despite the interruption, she delivered Earth's formal request for full council membership with calm dignity. Many representatives were no longer listening to her words, however. They were too busy sending urgent messages to their homeworlds about what they had just witnessed. In the security holding area, Peter Franklin faced Rekthar across a simple table. The Drakid sat calmly, his scaled hands resting on the table's surface. "I've been hunting your kind for 3 years," Peter said. "Not once have I heard of Drakid assassins abandoning a contract, especially not in public." "Because it has never happened before," Rekthar replied. "So why now? What's so special about Ambassador Benson?" Rekthar's eyes, with their vertical pupils fixed on Peter's face. "You are human beneath your Azuri modifications. You should understand better than most." "Understand what?" "The unique nature of human minds." Peter frowned. "Explain." "The Drakid sense biochemical markers: fear, aggression, stress. These signals help us identify threats and time our attacks. All beings show these markers, especially when facing new species or dangerous situations." Rekthar leaned forward slightly. "Your ambassador shows none of these. Instead, she radiates genuine joy and trust." "That's just Kathy," Peter said with a shrug. "She's an optimist." "It is more than optimism," Rekthar insisted. "It is a state of mind that our oldest texts describe as sacred. Our ancestors called it Nishtak, a mind that shines with pure creation rather than destruction." On Earth, Director Alan Hayes and a team of specialists watched the interrogation live. Noah Miller stood behind them, eyes wide as he listened. "Are they saying Kathy is some kind of alien saint?" Noah asked. Linda Powell, Earth's top xenobiologist, shook her head. "Not exactly. They're saying her brain chemistry is unique by galactic standards." "But it's not," Alan said. "We ran standard psychological profiles on Kathy before her appointment. She's unusual by human standards, extremely high on openness and agreeableness, extremely low on neuroticism, but she's within normal human parameters." Linda turned to him, excitement in her eyes. "That's just it. What if those normal human parameters are actually extraordinary by galactic standards? What if the capacity for uncynical optimism that we take for granted is actually rare in the galaxy?" Noah frowned. "You mean the Drakid can't tell she's just happy to be there?" "I mean they can tell, but they interpret it as something mystical because it's so foreign to their experience," Linda explained. A data analyst called from across the room. "Director Hayes, we're getting the initial readings from Ambassador Benson's neural implant. All diplomatic personnel from Earth had small monitoring devices that recorded basic neural activity. The data was used to study the effects of alien environments on human psychology." The analyst put the data on the main screen. The left graph shows Ambassador Benson's readings. The right shows the average readings from 50 other humans in first contact situations. The difference was striking. While most humans showed spikes in areas associated with stress, fear, and vigilance, Kathy's brain showed activity in areas linked to curiosity, empathy, and joy. "Fascinating," Linda whispered. "The Drakid might be right. Not about Kathy being some sacred being, but about her brain activity being fundamentally different from what they're used to sensing." Back on Nexus Station, Kathy had finished her address. The council voted to delay any decisions until they could process the unprecedented events. As she left the chamber, she found Noah waiting for her in a private room, his face appearing on a communication screen. "You're all over the galactic news," he told her. "The Drakid thing has completely overshadowed your speech." Kathy smiled. "That's okay. The speech was just words. What happened with the Drakid might actually change minds." "Speaking of which, we've been studying your neural implant data," Noah said. "The xenobiology team has a theory about why the Drakid reacted to you that way." He explained what they had discovered about her brain patterns compared to other humans in similar situations. "So, I'm just happy?" Kathy asked with a laugh. "Basically, yes. But that happiness, that absence of fear and cynicism, is so rare in the galaxy that the Drakid interpret it as something supernatural." "That seems hard to believe," Kathy said. Surely other species feel happiness. They do, but apparently not in situations where they should be feeling fear or stress. Your ability to remain genuinely optimistic and trusting in a potentially dangerous situation is what triggered their response. A soft chime indicated someone at the door. Kathy turned to see Zelka, the bird-like council greeter. "Ambassador," Zelka said, feathers shifting to a deep purple. "The Drakid High Envoy has arrived at the station and requests an immediate meeting with you." Kathy looked surprised. "I didn't know the Drakid had diplomatic envoys." "They didn't," Zelka replied, "until 2 hours ago. Their homeworld sent their most senior elder at maximum speed when they received news of what happened in the council chamber." Noah's eyes widened on the screen. "This is unprecedented. The Drakid have refused diplomatic relations with the council for over 500 years. Will you meet with them?" Zelka asked Kathy. "Of course," she replied without hesitation. After the communication ended, Kathy was escorted to a formal meeting room. The space was dimly lit and warmer than human preference, adjusted to Drakid comfort levels. A large Drakid with deep red scales waited inside. Unlike Rekthar and his team, this one wore elaborate ceremonial garments decorated with symbols. Kathy didn't recognize Ambassador Benson, the Drakid said in a raspy voice. "I am Elder Sharvex of the Drakid Sovereign Territories. I have come to offer you something no human has ever been offered before." Kathy stepped forward, unafraid. "I'm honored to meet you, Elder Sharvex. What is it you wish to offer?" The Elder's eyes studied her face. "The events in the council chamber have been reported throughout our territories. Our people believe the ancient prophecies are being fulfilled." "What prophecies?" Kathy asked. "That beings would emerge in the galaxy whose minds shine with the light of pure creation. Beings who would change the path of all species." The Elder made a gesture with his hands that Kathy didn't understand. "The Drakid wish to formally ally ourselves with Earth, exclusively with Earth." Peter Franklin, who had accompanied Kathy as security, couldn't hide his shock. "The Drakid have never allied with anyone until now," said Elder Sharvex. "Everything has changed." 2 days after the dramatic events in the council chamber, Kathy sat in a meeting room with representatives from Earth and the Drakid. The alliance proposal had sent shockwaves through Earth's government and the Galactic Council. Alan Hayes had arrived from Earth via emergency transport, his face showing the strain of the journey. Next to him sat Linda Powell, the xenobiologist, and 3 other human officials. Across the table, Elder Sharvex and 4 Drakid advisors waited patiently. "Let me make sure I understand," Alan said, looking at his notes. "The Drakid want exclusive diplomatic ties with Earth. No other council species." "Correct," Elder Sharvex replied. "We believe humans possess a unique quality that aligns with our oldest prophecies." Linda leaned forward. "This quality, you call it Nishtak. Is it really just optimism? The ability to remain positive in stressful situations?" The Elder's scales shifted color slightly. "It is more complex than that. Your species has the ability to feel genuine joy and trust in situations where most beings would feel only fear and suspicion. This quality appears strongest in Ambassador Benson, but our readings suggest it exists in many humans to varying degrees." "And this is rare in the galaxy?" Alan asked. "Extremely rare," Sharvex confirmed. "Most species develop intelligence as a survival response. The capacity for trust and cooperation typically extends only to their own kind, and even then it is limited. Your species appears to have developed intelligence alongside an unusual capacity for hope." Kathy, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "But surely other species feel hope and optimism." "They do," the Elder acknowledged, "but rarely as a default state, and almost never when facing potential threats." Your ambassador walked into a room filled with beings who might wish her harm, and she felt genuine pleasure to be there. This is not normal by galactic standards. On the other side of the station, the Galactic Council had called an emergency session. The representatives from the Muran Collective, who had hired the Drakid assassins, had been arrested for conspiracy. Their seats in the council chamber remained empty. The council elder addressed the gathered representatives. The events involving the human ambassador and the Drakid have created an unprecedented situation. For the first time in 500 years, the Drakid have offered diplomatic relations, but only with Earth, not with the council as a whole. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Furthermore, the elder continued, the Drakid have shared certain technologies with Earth as a gesture of good faith. Technologies they have previously refused to share with any species. The murmurs grew, louder. A representative from the Viridian Conclave stood. This changes the balance of power. Humans were barely spacefaring a decade ago. Now they have Drakid technology and protection? Perhaps, said a representative from the Lumina, we should reconsider our approach to humans. Those who sought to eliminate their ambassador clearly misjudged their importance. In the Earth Drakid meeting room, discussion had turned to practical matters. The Drakid had already offered advanced stealth technology, medical knowledge, and defensive systems unlike anything humans had seen before. Why share these technologies now? Alan asked suspiciously. What do you want in return? Elder Sharvex made a gesture that translated as respect. We seek to learn from humans. Not your technology, which is primitive by our standards, but your psychology. The Drakid have been feared assassins for millennia. We have lost touch with the hope and creativity that our ancient texts speak of. You want to study us? Linda asked. We want to learn how to see the universe as you do, the elder clarified. As a place of wonder rather than threat. As a home rather than a hunting ground. Noah Miller, who had been taking notes on his tablet, looked up in surprise. You're saying you want humans to teach the most feared killers in the galaxy how to be optimistic? The elder's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. Put simply, yes, Kathy smiled. I think we can do that. Later that day, Kathy returned to the Grand Council chamber to complete her interrupted address. This time, the room was completely silent as she approached the speaking platform. No representative spoke or sent messages. All attention was focused on the human. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Kathy began. The events of the past 2 days have been unexpected for all of us. I came here seeking Earth's full membership in the Council. I still seek that goal. She paused, looking around the chamber. But I've learned something important. Humans have qualities that may seem ordinary to us, but are rare in the galaxy. Our capacity for hope, even in dangerous situations. Our ability to trust strangers. Our optimism in the face of the unknown. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably. These were traits that most species considered naive or foolish. The Drakid have offered Earth an exclusive alliance and technology sharing. Some might expect us to withdraw our Council membership request and stand apart with our new allies. The chamber grew even quieter. But that is not the human way. Kathy continued. We believe in cooperation beyond barriers. We believe in building bridges, not walls. Earth accepts the Drakid alliance with gratitude, but we also recommit ourselves to full participation in this council. She smiled, the same warm smile that had stopped the assassins. Earth will serve as a bridge between the Drakid and the Council. We will help reintegrate a species that has been separate for too long. And in doing so, perhaps we will all learn something about trust and hope. The council chamber remained silent for several seconds after she finished. Then, one by one, representatives began to signal their approval, each in their own cultural way. Some banged on tables, others flashed colored lights, some released scented chemicals into the air. The council elder rose. The council recognizes the wisdom in Ambassador Benson's words. Earth's request for full membership will be put to immediate vote. The voting took less than 5 minutes. The result was unanimous, the first unanimous vote in Council history. Earth became a full member of the Galactic Council, and the Drakid, through their alliance with Earth, began the long process of rejoining the galactic community. 3 weeks. Later, Kathy stood in Director Hayes' office back on Earth, looking out at the blue sky. You've become quite famous, Alan said, the human who disarmed assassins with a smile. Kathy laughed. It wasn't my plan. No, but it worked out better than any plan we could have made. Alan handed her a data tablet. The Drakid have already shared medical technology that will save millions of lives, and 6 other council species have requested special diplomatic relations with Earth. Because they think we're special? Kathy asked. Because we are special in a way, Alan replied. What we take for granted, hope, optimism, trust, is rare out there. He gestured toward the sky. They want to learn it from us. Kathy smiled as she thought about the vastness of space and all the different beings living among the stars. Then we'll teach them, one smile at a time. Above Earth, a Drakid ship entered orbit. On board, Vrekthar looked down at the blue planet. For the first time in his long life, he felt something new. Hope. The assassin who had killed for 2 centuries now had a new mission, to learn how to see the universe through human eyes. Everything had indeed changed, just as he had told Ambassador Benson. And it had all begun because she entered unarmed, and the assassins surrendered instantly.